everyone, welcome back to Kidding Around. My name is Melanie Smith, and I think it is totally terrific that you are here with me today on another Test Tube Tuesday. Today, we will be making bubbles in bubbles. Before we do that though, if you like what you're seeing here and want to follow along with all of Kidding Around's videos, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Below each video, click the thumbs up. And also, if you really like what you're doing here, please share us with your friends. All right, let's get on to sciencing some bubbles. You know, I have to say, no matter how old I get, I still think there is something magical and exciting when I see a bubble. And today we are going to step up that magic and excitement just one step, and we are going to make some bubbles in bubbles. So in order to do this, you will need a few supplies. You will need 8 ounces of warm water. You will need some liquid dish soap. You will need some sugar. You will need a 16-ish ounce glass to mix all of your ingredients in to make your solution. You will need some paper towels because this can be a little bit messy, but it's all good, clean fun, I assure you. And then you will need some measuring spoons, specifically the 1 tablespoon measuring spoon. And you will need a spoon to stir. And then you will also need a pipette or a straw. I will be using a pipette. All right, so, oh, and I almost forgot. The last thing that you need is a very smooth surface. So, as you can see, this table is not very smooth at all. It has bumps and cracks in it. So I am using a piece of glass that I took out of a large picture of mine. Now, before you do something like that, you absolutely need to make sure that you check with the adults in your life and make sure that that is okay. Obviously, this glass is fragile and it can break, and the edges are very sharp and so they can cut you. So make sure that that is okay with an adult and make sure that they're around when you do that, if they do say that it's okay. Now, if you already have a smooth surface, like say you have like marble countertops maybe in your kitchen, you can definitely use those and you can just skip this glass step altogether. All right, well, let's get ready and let's make our solution. So the first thing that I am going to do is I am going to pour my 8 ounces, which is also a cup, my 8 ounces of warm water into my glass where I will be mixing my solution. And then I am going to take 1 tablespoon of table sugar, and I am going to put that into my cup, my water, just like that. All right, and then I will be taking my 2 tablespoons of dish soap, and I will put that into my sugar water. Takes a little bit of time for the soap to come out, not too much, just enough to work on the patience, right? All right, so there's 1, and I'm going to let it drip out as much as I can because I want to make sure that I get as much of that tablespoon in there. And then here is my second one. It's almost there. There we go. And then I will pour that into my sugar water as well. And again, I'm going to let it drip just a little bit of extra time just to make sure that I get all of the soap in there that I can. All right, so once I have that done, then I'm going to take my spoon and I am going to gently mix this. Now, I am going to mix until the sugar is completely dissolved. Just as I mentioned that we need a smooth surface to blow our bubbles on, we want to make sure that our bubble solution is as smooth as possible too. So we don't want any of those sugar grains in our solution. If your water is warm, your sugar will dissolve a little faster, so that's why we said warm water. So we are just going to stir and stir and stir until all of those little sugar grains are gone. And you know, I think they're probably pretty close to gone right now, but I am going to stir just a little bit extra, just to make sure. You won't hurt it by stirring it a little bit extra. All right, let's see. Oh, I still think there are some in there, so a little bit of extra time. And remember, you're just gently stirring. You don't need to be stirring super, super aggressively. That would just be making a mess, and it wouldn't serve your purpose anyway. So just keep stirring until all of that sugar is dissolved. Let's see, we are getting close. Close, close. All right. Now, when all of your sugar is dissolved, you can put that aside. And then I am going to grab my pipette, and I am going to, oh, you know what I forgot to mention? Did I mention you need scissors? You need a pair of scissors. And then what I am going to do is I am going to cut about 1 centimeter off the top of my pipette. So I'm just cutting that bulb off. If you're using a straw, you should cut down your straw to about 6 to 8 inches. That will just help you be able to control the soap as you blow through the straw. All right, now it's time for the main event. So I am going to take some of this soapy water, I'm going to put it on my hand, and I am just going to spread it out on my surface where I'm going to be blowing my bubbles. So I think this is probably, 10 by 8 inches. It doesn't have to be exact. This is just where you want your bubbles to be, and they won't pop if they're being blown onto a soapy surface. And now I already need a paper towel because I'm already soapy. All right, so once you have your soapy surface, then you can take your pipette and your straw, and you are going to put the open side, the larger side if you're using a pipette, into your soapy mixture. When you pull it out, you will see that there is a ring of soap in there. There's a soap bubble or film that goes clear across the pipette. All right, so then you are going to gently blow into the other end, not the end that you dipped in your soap. You're going to blow out. Make sure not to suck in, otherwise you're going to have a mouthful of soap, which doesn't taste very good. So just make sure you're always blowing. And you're going to get your edge very close here to the soap, or to the surface, and you're going to blow. Now, if you blow very gently, you can get a pretty large bubble. Once you have the size of bubble that you want, you gently pull out your straw or your pipette, and your bubble will most likely stay. Now, if it pops, no big deal. Blow another one. Not a problem at all. All right, so now I promised you, though, that we were going to make bubbles in bubbles. So the way to do that is to dip your pipette or straw back into your soapy mixture, and then very gently you are going to push your pipette or straw through the bubble and blow again. All right, now you saw what happened there. It started as a bubble inside. I hope you were able to see that. But then my inside bubble touched my outside bubble, and they kind of traded places. And so the outside bubble came, or the inside bubble came to the outside. So that may happen. It's hard to control your bubbles. They're going to slide and move around on your soapy surface. If that happens, you just try again. And you can see here, my bubbles just popped. So I am going to start again. No big deal. Okay, you saw how gently I blew that, right? Okay, now I'm going to dip in again, and I'm going to put this pipette or straw into this bubble. The one thing that I should have mentioned earlier is that you want to make sure that you have dipped your straw or your pipette into the water at least as deep as you're going to put it into this bubble. Because if it touches something that's not soapy, it will most likely pop. So the second time you put your pipette or your straw in the water, make sure it goes down quite a bit, and then make sure that as you put it into your bubble, you're not going up above where you dipped in your straw. Oh, and guess what? I talked too long. All right, let's try it again. We're getting lots of good practice at blowing this bubble gently, right? Okay, I gently remove it, and then I dip it deep, and now I'm going in again, and I'll go in maybe at the top. That'll help. Now look at that. I very gently remove my pipette and I have a bubble in a bubble. Isn't that fun? All right, I'm going to go for broke here and I'm going to see if I can get 3 bubbles all like this. So if you do this at home, you'll want to go into the smallest bubble possible. So you're going to have to go through this big bubble, through the next bubble, and then blow your smallest bubble inside both bubbles that you have. All right, 1, 2. Wow. You see that the top bubble popped. So this is something that is worth a lot of experimentation, but it's so fun. Such fun experimentation. Now I have 2 bubbles that are connected. You know, as I was practicing this, I noticed that there were some really fun shapes that happen if you connect several bubbles at once. Here, let me show you. All right, so you can see that each one of these is a fun shape. It's not a circle or a half sphere. It has angles to it. Now let's try another one. Look at that. Isn't that fun? There are different angles here with each bubble that I add. Let me see if I can add another one. There we go. We have something like an igloo. Oh, and then one popped. So each time one pops, they reconnoiter and they change their angle sizes, or they change their outer shape, I should say. Oops, and they're popping all over. Super fun, isn't it? All right, well, I said I was going to try to get 3 or 2 inside a bigger one. So let me see if I can do that. All right, there's my first one. Now I think I'm going to try, in order to keep my bubbles from touching each other, I'm going to go straight in from the top. All right, there are my 2. Can I do 3? Let's see. Look at that. There are my 3. And I realized, I don't know if you noticed, that right at the last minute I wondered if maybe my hair was touching this outer bubble. So I pushed it back so it wouldn't touch, because I'm sure the minute that my hair touches this, it pops. So remember all of that. Remember, anything that's not soapy will pop your bubbles. And keep experimenting. Just see exactly what you can do. See how many bubbles you can get inside of each other. Do you think I can go for a 4th? I don't know. That little one is pretty little. Do you think I can do it? Here, I'm going to pull my hair back. Oh no, I lost my outer bubble. All right, I'm going to try one more time. And as I'm doing this, I will also be talking to you in a voiceover, telling you exactly why this works. I'm sure that you have noticed when you play with regular bubbles, they burst when they come into contact with just about anything. A bubble's worst enemies are oil, dirt, and gravity. A sugar bubble, though, will last a long time on a surface if the surface is free of oil or dirt that would normally break through or dissolve the soap film. It's also easier to slip a bubble solution covered bubble wand through a bubble. As I mentioned earlier, if you try it with a dry bubble wand, the bubble will pop. So you probably noticed that when we blew this bubble inside a bubble, the outer bubble expanded a little bit too. And that's because the additional air caused the creation of the inner bubble, and it also forced the outer bubble to expand to accommodate that inner bubble's volume. Thanks to the soapy and sugary solution, the hydrogen bonds in the water are elastic enough to allow for the increase in volume and compression. And so that is why this bubble experiment works. Well, I guess it just wasn't meant to be, at least for me today. What about you? Can you get 4 bubbles all here in each other? I would love to see pictures of the creations that you come up with, whether or not you get 4 bubbles all together, or I would love to see some of the fun shapes that you can make with your bubbles. I will also mention that the longer that you let this solution sit, the stronger it will be. So if it doesn't work today, let the solution sit out overnight, maybe cover it with some plastic wrap and use it tomorrow and see if you can get to 4 bubbles tomorrow, or see if you can get whatever creations you want to make made. When you do end up doing this experiment, please ask a grown-up to take pictures of your creations and post those on our Facebook site. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for learning about the science of bubbles. I hope that you've had as much fun as I have. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday when we will be doing a Thoughtful Thursday lesson. I really am excited to spread some kindness around the world with you. Until then, thanks so much for joining me for this one. Thanks so much for kidding around with me. I will see you next time.